like to thank everybody for coming out today to the Abington Township Police Memorial Day. We're here to honor two officers from Abington Township that gave the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. Today, or this year, marks the 75th anniversary of the line of duty death of Officer Matthews. And we're also today going to honor and do a plaque dedication for Constable O'Brien, who was also killed in line of duty in Abington Township. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief Malloy.
So on behalf of Deputy Chief Porter and Deputy Chief Quinn and my command staff, and all the men and women of the Abington Township Police Department, I want to welcome and thank all of you for being here this morning for this memorial service and our open house. We hope that you can stay after this ceremony to get to know our officers, learn more about our organization, enjoy the static displays, the demonstrations, and tours of our police station. Before I go any further with my remarks, I especially want to welcome Michael Matthews, the son of Officer Thomas Matthews, who is watching this ceremony via live stream from Texas with his wife Donna, their 4 children, and their 10 grandchildren. Michael, a Vietnam veteran who was only 2 years old, living in Glenside when his father was murdered, wanted me to express his sincere gratitude to all of you for honoring his father this many years later. Michael, from all of us back here in Abington, thank you for your service to our country, and may God bless you and all of your family in Texas. In attendance we have here with us Debbie Brennan, Richard Helm, in-laws of Michael up front. So thank you guys for being here with us. This event would not have been possible without the passion and leadership of one of our most senior veteran officers, our traffic safety manager, and the officer who trained me back in 1994, and one of the hardest working, most dedicated officers I've ever worked with, Officer Al Freed. Let's hear it for Al. Al and Caitlin Metzinger worked tirelessly to bring this open house back to our department. Thank you, Al, Caitlin, and all the members of your committee for your hard work and dedication. I also want to thank, Bill Cleary from Givnish. He printed for free all of these brochures for us, so thank you, Bill, and the Givnish organization for your generosity. I also want to take a moment to thank all of our honored guests and elected officials who are present with us today. But before I do that, I have Anthony Siliberto, my corporal, sitting in the back there. If you could just wave, Anthony. My first supervisor, another veteran, Marine veteran. So God bless you, and I'm so glad that you're here. And I know that your grandson, Michael, is on the force, and he's going to be doing canine demonstrations. So thank you for coming up from Delaware. We're also fortunate to have elected officials with us who have always supported our department and our township. And they're in the front row here. State Representative Ben Sanchez, Representative Nancy Genst, I don't think she's here. I have Chief John Livingood behind me. Commissioners John Spiegelman, Christine Young-Gertz, and Lori Schreiber, who is our former police liaison public safety chair. And Pastor Larry Crean behind me. Pastor Larry. We also have our civil service representatives, Ed Nolan and Diane Misko. Ed and Diane, thank you for being here. So we know that none of this would be possible without the unwavering support that we have received from our community, from our Abington Board of Commissioners, our township managers and administration. Manager Manfredi and the Board of Commissioners President Tom Hecker could not be here with us today. So on behalf of the men and women of our department, I want to thank you. We will continue to work hard each and every day to earn your trust. As an organization, we are honored to serve our community, both as crime fighters and peacemakers. I could not be prouder of the men and women of our department for the courage and commitment they display each and every day, protecting and serving our great community. Much of this work goes unrecognized, but I often have had the opportunity to randomly review body cameras. And each time I do this, I am more and more amazed at the extraordinary work that our officers are doing behind the scenes, routinely de-escalating volatile situations, taking control of violent offenders, removing illegal firearms and narcotics from our streets, and showing extraordinary compassion to victims and others who are in crisis. And above all, not judging those that they have in custody, treating all of our citizens, no matter what their background or circumstances, with respect and dignity. These men and women truly are guardian angels and peacemakers to so many, following their vocation to bring some measure of comfort and order to oftentimes chaotic situations. So to all my fellow officers who are here today, you make me proud to be a member of this noble profession, and most of all, to be a member of Abington Township Police Department. I just also want to recognize all of the retirees are here. I saw a number of you here, so if you could just raise your hand. Thank you for coming back, because you made our department what it is. Lieutenant McNamara, Lieutenant Hassan, Al Horner, Tom Scott. I know I'm missing a couple people. McNamara and Dave Tomlinson. Dave, how are you? Dave, I didn't see you. I know. That's right, you were our computer guy. Thank you for coming back, Dave. Today, we will be spending time recognizing Thomas Matthews, Constable O'Brien, who both made the ultimate sacrifice protecting the citizens of Abington Township. You will hear more about these heroic individuals from retired Chief John Livingood and veteran Officer Ray Townsend. Just last night, I had the honor to speak to Officer Matthews' son, Michael. You could still hear the pain in his voice when he talked about growing up in Glenside in the 1950s without a father. His life and the life of his young, widowed mother were forever changed on that fateful day. Michael, we know from the letters that you shared that your father was a man of extraordinary faith, a devout Catholic who attended Mass every day after his shift, devoted to your mom and to you, to this great nation and the Abington community, with dreams back then of one day owning a home, and as you described, with this great new invention, he dreamed of owning his own new television. So before I turn this over to Veteran Officer Tom Nyman, the president of our ATPA, I want Michael, Donna, and the rest of the Matthews family watching from Texas and those here with us today to know that all of us here in Abington who wear the same uniform that your father wore will never forget the sacrifice that you made. We will honor his legacy with a servant's heart, and above all with the courage and commitment that he demonstrated in his service to our country and to the Abington community. Thank you.
If we could all rise for the Star-Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
There's an old saying, you never give an Irishman a microphone. So I'll try to be brief because everybody at Queen of Peace knows I'm not. First, on behalf of my family in Boston, police officers, retired police officers, want the families of Thomas Matthews and Constable O'Brien to know you are in our prayers. On behalf of the people of Queen of Peace, for whom we pray for police, fire, and emergency personnel every day, I want you to also know you are in our prayers. I want to thank you for sharing the gift of your loved ones with us. They indeed are a great blessing. They're not was. They are and always will be a blessing. So this is the prayer I offer to their families. But there'll be another prayer behind this. We now give Thomas and Daniel back to you, O God, who first gave them to us. But just as you did not lose them in giving them to us, so we do not lose them by their return to you. For life is eternal, love is immortal, and death is only a horizon. And horizons are nothing more than the limits of our sight. Lift us up, strong Son of God, that we may see further. Cleanse our eyes that we may see more clearly. Draw us closer to yourself, that we may know ourselves to be closer to Thomas and Daniel, who now sit at your right side. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Many people know you, Jesus, as Son of God, as a great prophet, as a wise man. We thank you for the men and women of Abington Township who live what you taught. I did not come to be served, but to serve, to give my life for the ransom of many. We thank you for instilling within them this same commitment, this same dedication, this same selfless love, which allowed them and you to do great things, that the world will be a better place. We ask you to help them and us always remember they are a gift to us. Help us to remember that. At times they will be overwhelmed, they will be tired, they will need strength. And let them know that their fellow officers and families are like a marriage to them. They are with them in good times and in bad, in sickness and health, to love them, heal them, honor them all the days of their life. We ask you, Lord, to continue to watch over and protect them and bring them safely home to their families, that they may be filled with the love of God and the love of all humanity. Through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Okay, I'd like to thank the Reverend Nate Jones for that great rendition of the Star Spangled Banner. Just a couple of quick notes before we get on with the rest of the ceremony. I'd like to thank my committee. It was a committee of many. Without their help, this day probably wouldn't have happened. Kate Metziger, Rachel Conroy, excuse me. I'm going to call her Kathy P because I'll never get her last name right. Peggy Myers, Shannon Hasera, Kim Bryant, and Grace from the township side. We appreciate you helping out, and it's a good job, and thankfully we got good weather. Also, just for everybody, at the end of this ceremony, we're going to be giving some awards out to committee members, so if you just want to hang out, and we'll take care of that. A couple other thank yous. I'd like to thank the Police Association, the Abington Township Fire Department, Abington Township Public Works, Carlos Pizza, Stewart's Root Beer food truck. I know everybody wants funnel cake and root beer floats after this, so make sure you stop by and see them. Lee's Hoagies, Givenish Funeral Home, and Hillside Cemetery, who helped us out with getting the plaque that's going to be unveiled here today. So I'm going to pass this on to the president of the Abington Township Police Association, Tom Nyman.
Thank you, Al. And thanks, Chief Malloy, for making all this possible and giving me a moment to speak on this beautiful day. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tom Nyman, President of the Abington Township Police Association. This event's a privilege to be a part of and an awesome opportunity for our officers to interact with the community and to allow a peek into how we operate here, while at the same time honoring our fallen brothers. The Abington Township Police Association is a collective bargaining unit that represents all officers under the rank of lieutenant. The Police Association also partners and supports many local organizations and charities in the community, including the ALS Hope Foundation, Glenside Youth Athletic League, the Keep the Parade Alive Glenside Group, the various 5Ks, and mental health organizations, just to name a few. Officer Freed brought up the idea of this Memorial Day at one of our recent body meetings and requested that we support the event and possibly donate to dedicate a plaque to Constable O'Brien, who, like Officer Matthews, had given his life in service of residents of Abington Township. As members of the association, we receive a watch at the completion of 20 years of service in recognition for our service. Without hesitation, Officer Ray Townsend, Sergeant Joe Blythe, both behind me here, veteran officers, proud U.S. military veterans, asked if the money allocated for their watches that they were due to them could be applied to the purchase of the plaque to commemorate Constable O'Brien's service and his sacrifice. The selflessness that my brothers and sisters here in the department and the department leadership that they exhibit makes me humbled and proud to be a part of this department that I am blessed to call family. I want to thank Kate Messenger, Al Freed for their hard work in making this event happen, and thank all of you for being here today and your continued support of the Abington Township Police Department and the Abington Police Association. Thank you.
I think I forgot one thank you. I'd like to thank CAPT, who also made a donation towards the plaque. I'd now like to call up retired Police Chief John Livingood to speak on behalf of Officer Matthews and the Matthews family.
Thank you, Al, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to take you back 75 years. And this is an event that happened then, but is still dear and near to all of our hearts. The early morning hours of Wednesday, June 29th, 1949, were warm and clear, as Officer Tom Matthews and Clark Cutting of the Abington Township Police Department patrolled beat number 4 in the township's rattle section. This upscale area of the township had a number of large estates, as well as open fields and woods. 1:18 a.m., the two young policemen turned onto quiet Dixon Lane. Officer Matthews, a 4-year veteran of the force, noticed the outdoor floodlights were on at one of the large homes up ahead on Barradale Road. The resident explained that his dogs were barking, and suspecting a prowler, he turned the lights on. As the officers got out of their car to investigate, they heard an engine start up. The sound came from the nearby intersection of Barradale and Leopard. The officers jumped back in their car and located an older, green panel truck with fruit and produce painted on the side in weathered lettering, turning onto the O'Neill property at Leopard and Dixon. When the officers pulled up behind it, the dilapidated truck immediately began backing out of the driveway, almost striking the patrol car. Officer Matthews called for the driver to stop. The officers approached the truck, and Officer Cutting asked the man for identification, while Officer Matthews examined the rear of the vehicle. The driver exited the truck while Officer Cutting took a closer look at the interior. Shining his flashlight on the driver, Officer Matthews asked what the bottles in the cargo area contained. "Bourbon," the man replied. "It doesn't read bourbon here," said Matthews, momentarily turning his flashlight into the vehicle for a better look at the contents. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, the suspicious driver bowled across Leopard Road and ran into the spacious lawn of the large Hopfer estate. "Halt!" Officer Matthews yelled, and fired several warning shots with his .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. The officers chased the man past the expansive home and into the thick woods behind the estate. Officer Matthews yelled to his partner to return to the patrol car and radio for more help. In 1949, officers had no portable radios or walkie-talkies. Hurrying back to car number 4, Officer Cutting radioed for assistance and described the suspect as well as the truck. All available cars were called to assist. Cutting then returned to the suspect's truck and disabled it. Anxious to locate his partner, Officer Cutting jumped into his squad car and drove to cut off the fleeing suspect at Leopard and Panther, where he turned off the motor and listened. Hearing nothing, he called out to Officer Matthews, but received no answer. The worried officer then drove west on Panther to Washington Lane, where he was joined by other responding police units. Growing more concerned by the minute, the officer searched the woods where Officer Matthews was last seen, but found nothing. Soon every available officer in the area joined the desperate search, aided by floodlights brought to the scene by the Abington Fire Company. The officers learned from a resident at Frog Hollow Road that about 1:30 a.m. she heard 4 gunshots and several calls of halt. Next she heard the sounds of movement in the woods, followed by a voice saying, get up, get all the way up, and no tricks. 3 rapid gunshots followed. The frantically searching officers located the body of Officer Matthews in heavy brush. His left hand clutched his handcuffs, and powder marks on his hand and face indicated he had been shot at point-blank range. An autopsy later showed that Officer Matthews had been shot 3 times with a .38 caliber bullets. The trajectory of the bullets had been upward, indicating that the suspect may have been crouching or lying on the ground and shot Officer Matthews when he reached down to snap the handcuffs on the suspect. Officer Thomas Matthews, a former paratrooper who served in the Pacific during World War II, was 32 years old at the time he was murdered. The search for the suspect who killed Officer Matthews is one of the biggest ever. Police set up roadblocks at strategic locations in case the suspect managed to get a ride. 3 airplanes piloted by volunteers were used to search the fields and woods for the suspect. As the investigation widened, officers discovered a motive for the killing. The 15-room Hopflower Estates residence had been broken into. The family was away on vacation as the burglars ransacked their home. In the woods, police found items from the home believed to have been dropped by the suspect. Among the items stolen but not located was a loaded .38 caliber revolver, which is believed to have been the weapon used to murder Officer Matthews. Seeking additional clues, Abington police traced the produce truck to North Huber Street in Philadelphia. The owner's 14-year-old son told investigators he had watched from an upstairs window as a man named Ollie Carey hot-wired his father's truck on the night of June 28th at about 10:30, less than 3 hours before Officer Matthews' fateful encounter. The investigation indicated that Carey had fled to a farm in Warsaw, Virginia. Investigators found that Carey had indeed been there, arriving on June 30th, the day after Officer Matthews was murdered, but fled prior to police arrival. On July 8th at 8:15 p.m., 2 Virginia State troopers apprehended Carey on a bus. Carey subsequently waived extradition proceedings and on July 13th was returned to Abington to face charges. The following day, Carey admitted to burglarizing the Hopflower estate. But the Hopflowers weren't Carey's only burglary victims. Items recovered at Carey's home and from a Philadelphia pawn shop linked the suspect to a series of burglaries in Abington Township. Ollie Carey was born on New Year's Day, 1909, in Portsmouth, Virginia. A cook by trade, Carey had previously spent 6 years in prison for burglary. In the months before Officer Matthews' murder, Carey had been working with a road construction crew in Rydal. His job gave him a good opportunity to target the homes that he would later come back and burglarize. In February 1950, Carey went on trial for the murder of Officer Thomas Matthews. The highly respected Judge William Danhauer presided over Carey's proceedings in Montgomery County Common Police Court. The trial jury deliberated for 3.5 hours before returning a guilty verdict on February 9, 1950, of first-degree homicide, with the penalty fixed at death. After several years' worth of appeals were exhausted, Carey's sentence was carried out on May 18, 1953, at Western State Penitentiary in Rockview, Pennsylvania. Today, as we celebrate Memorial Day, Police Memorial Day, the Abington Township Police Department will mark the 75th anniversary of the murder of Thomas Matthews. Tom Matthews left behind his wife Mary and 2-year-old son Michael, as well as numerous friends and colleagues in the Abington Police Department. It is a truism that the pain and heartache caused by the on-duty death of a police officer never goes away. Consider these words written by Tom Matthews' widow in 1999. Even though it happened 50 years ago, the pain of a sudden loss while it may occasionally fade into the background, has never escaped my mind for a single day. Sadly, Mary Matthews McGettigan passed away in June 2003 at the age of 84. She is buried next to Tom at Holy Sepulchre Cemetery. Michael Matthews, son of Officer Tom Matthews, relocated to Dallas, Texas area in 1978. He and his wife Donna raised 4 children: Thomas, Donna, Michelle, Michael, and Stephen. All 4 of Officer Matthews' grandchildren are grown with careers and/or families of their own. Although the death of Officer Matthews took place a long time ago, he is not forgotten. Michael Matthews, his family, and the men and women of Abington Police will never forget the sacrifice that Officer Thomas Matthews made for the citizens of Abington Township on June 29, 1949. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call up Officer Ray Townsend. I just want to say a little bit about Ray. He was instrumental in researching all the background information on the death of Constable O'Brien, which was the precursor to Constable O'Brien being put on the memorial wall in Washington several years ago. So, Officer Townsend.
Thanks, Al. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for attending today's Abington Police Memorial Day. Again, my name's Ray Townsend. I'm here to honor one of our officers, Constable Daniel O'Brien, who was murdered while patrolling his home, protecting his home and family 119 years ago here in Abington Township. It'll be 120 years in August. Back in 2018, we had been contacted about Daniel O'Brien, and then Chief John Livingood and Deputy Chief Kelly Warner and I embarked on researching into the events that led to Constable O'Brien's death. As part of my remarks, I took the liberty to take from the news articles that we had acquired from the papers of the time and the official records of the event that we had found with the help of the Old York Road and Fort Washington Historical Societies, along with the police department's petition to have Constable O'Brien's name put on the wall in the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. A long and overdue tribute to one of our protectors from a long time ago will soon be getting his plaque dedicated here today. In the summer of 1904, the 26-year-old then, Daniel O'Brien, lived with his mother and father in a small wooden 2-storied house on Susquehanna Road near Hillside Cemetery. The back of the house, there was a small wooden barn, half with chickens and multiple geese. Constable O'Brien was a member of the Abington and Cheltenham Anti-Tramp Association, created by private enterprises to supplement our township's constable in dealing with the lawbreakers that were wreaking havoc in our community. Constable O'Brien was one of the 5 special constables who were uniformed and armed. Constable O'Brien was very popular in the community and had an excellent reputation as a lawman. This, however, did not sit well with those who were committing crimes in our community. The criminal element looked down on the young constable, and the trouble had been brewing ever since he got his start to become a constable in Abington, and had been heard amongst the criminals in court and around town that O'Brien's lack of experience in youth caused him to be looked upon as an upstart, and the ne'er-do-wells of the district did not like him, not one bit. In August 8th of 1904, approximately 12:30 a.m., Constable O'Brien was awakened by the squawking of geese in the chicken house. He listened a while as the flock of geese on the property took up course. This convinced the young O'Brien that there was an intruder in the yard, and he awakened his father. The 2 men slipped on trousers over their underclothes and went in their bare feet downstairs, each carrying a revolver in their hand. According to the record, they both slept with 38 revolvers underneath their pillow. They went down to the kitchen and lit a lantern, opened the door, and started their way towards that barn. They left the lantern on the kitchen table. In the pitch black, they heard a stir from the corner of the bar, and Constable O'Brien opened fire, firing 5 shots into the dark. O'Brien missed his target while his father tried to reuse his revolver, and the weapon had misfired. The thieves then moved across the yard in the corner and wielded the barrel of a shotgun towards O'Brien, firing 1 shot at the helpless constable who stood with an empty revolver in his hand. O'Brien fell, but quickly scrambled to his feet and staggered back towards the house. Another shot rang out, and his father was also shot. The elder O'Brien ran to the front of the house where he met his wife, saying, "Dan's been shot," he said, and he fell to the ground, gravely wounded. Constable O'Brien died from his wounds on the gravel walkway behind their house. A large funeral mass was held for Constable O'Brien at the Church of the Immaculate Conception in Jenkintown. Nearly everyone in the community attended the funeral and followed the body to St. Anthony's Cemetery in Ambler. It was noted that it was the largest assembly of motorized vehicles at the time, and the procession stretched as far as you could see on Susquehanna Road from the station of Hillside, which is now Roslyn Station, past Hillside Cemetery. The days after the funeral, there was not information other than circumstantial evidence regarding the young constable's death, and it was speculated he was targeted and ambushed, and later on, suspects were arrested and tried and convicted. The murder of Constable O'Brien, as well as 4 others that occurred that remained unsolved during this time, had the residents call for a better police protection, and strong arguments for a full-time police force began to circulate. As you see in the article here, in August of 25th, 1904, the Ambler Gazette article, the community said we needed to work towards obtaining more protection for the county from the thugs who roam the countryside and pillage uncaught, with murder in their hearts, and cut the lies with pay or with no penalty for it. And one Jenkintown resident stated, no man's life or property is safe in this locality. Constable O'Brien's murder was certainly a major factor for the formation of our full-time police department here in Abington. 2 years later, the township became incorporated and instituted its first police force of 9 officers. On February 13th, 2018, we are informed that the name Constable Daniel J. O'Brien, end of watch, August 8th, 1904, of the Abington Township Police Department have been approved for inclusion on the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. Members of the police department were invited, along with the department's honor guard, to National Police Week, and the 30th annual Candlelight Vigil, where Constable O'Brien's name was added to the roll call of the fallen officers who gave their lives in the line of duty. Today, with the help of Abington Township, the police department, the Abington Police Association, and again, Officer Al Freed, we have a new plaque to dedicate here at our memorial in memory of Constable Daniel J. O'Brien, end of watch, August 8th, 1904.
Thank you, Ray. We will now have the wreath laying ceremony.
At this time, Deputy Chief Porter, Deputy Chief Quinn, would you please stand as we dedicate the first wreath for Thomas Matthews.
And Officer Ray Townsend will present the wreath for Daniel O'Brien.
Detail, attend her, present, horse. Detail, order, horse.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun, than when we first begun.
All right, next I'd like to call Lieutenant McGee from the Community Policing Division.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant McGee. I work in our Community Policing Division for the Police Department, and it is my distinct opportunity to recognize some of the many volunteers who provide outstanding service for the many programs and services the department offers through the Community Policing Division. Without them, a lot of these programs and services would not be possible, and we would like to take this opportunity to recognize a few today in front of all of you. Abington PAL is one of the programs and services offered throughout the community. They hold their annual Halloween event in October, and we are pleased to announce the community member being honored this year is Sue Hoffman. Without Sue, this event would not be as spectacular as it always is, and we look forward to showing her our appreciation. Thank you very much, Sue. And we would be remiss if we didn't recognize her husband, Ken, who works in the Community Policing Division. Ken, wave. Whose tireless efforts and support help us with our pre-night out. So thank you as well, Ken. The next award I would like to announce is the Butch and Karen Beal Award. Butch and Karen are here with us today. If you would like to come up here on stage. The Butch and Karen Beal Award is awarded to individuals who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to provide programs or support to the community of Abington and Rockledge. Setting the standard for the award are Butch and Karen Beal. These two Glenside residents are abundantly generous with their support for the community we live in, and this award has been presented to outstanding citizens since 1996. We are thrilled to give this year's award to Jack Murphy. Another award we would like to give today is in honor of Commissioner Mike Gillespie. We have Carol with us here today. Carol, would you like to come up on stage? And his son, John. The Commissioner Mike Gillespie 2024 Award recognized a community member for their outstanding commitment and inspiration to the 24-hour relay challenge and the Abington community. We are proud to announce that Mary Carminati is this year's recipient. Mary retires from the Community Policing Unit at the end of this month after over 25 years of dedicated service. She will be missed immensely. Can we have Brian Shotwell come up? Brian, come on. We'd like to take this moment to recognize American Heritage Credit Union for their generous donation to our bike unit. And we have Brian Shotwell here, from VP of Operations, and we'd like to recognize him for the generous donation of our electric bikes over there in the parking lot. Without those electric bikes, our bike unit wouldn't be what it is today. It was a very generous contribution, and we'd like to thank you.
All right, I think I was given the MC position too here, but we're going to wrap this up. I see Chief Slavin from Cheltenham, Chief Gallagher from Rockland. Yeah, I know. Yep, yeah, I know. We're going to wrap this up with one final presentation. Thank you, Caitlin. And this is a special presentation, Chief Tom Scott from Jenkintown. We know that, Father, can you join me up here, Father Larry? So, some of you may know, many in the organization, and I know Mike Jones, the chief of the fire company, our second alarmers, anybody in this general area knows that Father Larry and all the good people over at Good Shepherd School, each year they have during Catholic Schools Week, they open up the church to everybody. Doesn't matter your background, your denomination, and they invite us in to the parish, and they have, and Father Larry and his associates do an incredible mass, prayers for all of us in this profession, all first responders, firefighters. It's truly a unique event where members of my command staff and other chiefs in the community comment, Father Larry, for your generosity, the spirit in which you invite everybody into your community, especially during these very trying times in law enforcement and when our communities are often too divided. You represent bringing people together. You are truly a peacemaker. You have been a leader in the Glenside, Ardsley, North Hills community. You did one quick stint up in my parish, St. Jude, and but everybody loved. He leads with the heart, and on behalf of my command staff, all the men and women of our department, Chief Slavin, Chief Gallagher, Chief Scotts, all the fire officials here, Mike Jones, we want to thank you for all that you've done for us, and we know that you're going to be being transferred to Delaware County, whatever it is, right? Yeah, Delco. But we're going to miss you, and I just want to turn the mic over to you for 1 second. But let's hear it for Father Larry. I had to ask Father where the award was, and he told me. It was right here. Thank you. Anyway, if you can join me. This says, many blessings, Father Larry Crehan. As our shepherd, we thank God for the deep compassion, dedication, generosity you have shared with the Abington Police Department over the last 15 years. May God bless you and keep you safely in His arms as you continue your work of faith in your new community. So, congratulations and God bless you.
Didn't I warn you, you don't give an Irishman a microphone? What I want to say is two things. First of all, I'm not accepting this on behalf of me. I'm only the pastor. Anything good done in Queen of Peace Parish is because of the people. I just try not to get in there in God's way. The second is, we have some veterans here today, is that right? If you don't know it, I'd invite you to come over to Queen of Peace. We have a place of remembrance for all veterans. Living, deceased, active, inactive, missing in action, never came home. So the church is usually open from 6 a.m. to about 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, 6 p.m. 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday. Invite you to come over and inscribe your name in our book of remembrance and any of your comrades. And we pray for you every day at Queen of Peace. God bless you. On behalf of our community, I say thank you.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. The day is not over. If you look at your brochures, there's going to be different demonstrations. Obviously, you see the tables out here behind you. Feel free to visit those. And there'll be K9 and TAC team demonstrations coming up starting at 12:30. Also, right after we break here, we'll be giving tours of the police department, so feel free to line up at the door and we'll get you through there. So again, thanks for coming. It's much appreciated.
And John Halligan from the Philadelphia Police Department, he runs their honor guard unit, one of the busiest men in the department, for playing the bugle. Thank you, John.